Hello, today it is Sunday, May 30th, and I have for you another weekly wrap up. I read a lot this week. Granted, a lot of these books were very small, but I had two kind of larger ones in there. Yeah, it was a 7 book week, so that's pretty good. Bodes well for my hopefully reading 100 books this summer. But first up, the first book I finished was Suffer the Children by Saul. This is a pulpy horror novel about this family where this rich family, and they find this painting in the attic, and this painting is of a little girl who years and years ago was raped and killed by her father. So right away, we're off to a very, very exciting and happy start. They don't know this though. They just find this painting, and so they hang it up, and then something starts happening. Kids start disappearing. This is probably the pulpiest Saul book I have read. Sometimes he's a kind of pulpy horror 80s novelist, but sometimes he does like try to be kind of too fancy with it. But this one, like, I don't want to spoil it, but by saying the pulpiest, weirdest, jankiest shit that happens, but let's just say there's a dead cat corpse involved. So take of that what you will. This was fun. I know it's weird, but it was fun. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I had a lot of fun with it. It's just trashy horror. Then I read Strange Women of the Occult by Warren Smith. This is just a little papergraph detailing little stories of random women of the occult. And they start off weird and they get weirder. I think my favorite title of a section was, if I can find it, I believe it was on this side. Yes, The Woman with the Flaming Breasts. So that just about tells you what to expect with this book. It's a very old little paperback. It was a fun time. I think I gave it 3 stars. It is falling apart. See the bindings kind of coming out there. I'm not helping it, but it was a fun time. Then I read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This was my first time reading Brave New World, believe it or not. I know, and it's weird. I was an English major. I'm an English teacher, and this is my first time reading Brave New World. Brave New World is like the third in the classic dystopian trifecta of 1984, Fahrenheit 451, and then this one. I do think that Fahrenheit 451 is probably my favorite of the 3 still. 1984 is my least favorite. This one does have more in common with Fahrenheit than 1984, I think, because it is more focused on the population has been subdued, not with authoritarianism, but with entertainment. And it was very, very, really seriously very interesting. The way that this book used kind of public opinion rather than men with guns to kind of keep control of everything. I did really, really enjoy it. I mean, honestly, like, I finished it on like Tuesday and I already want to reread it. Like, I do really very much enjoy this one. I think it's got a lot of interesting stuff to say. It was just really, really fun. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that Brave New World is a fantastic book because you already know that Brave New World is a fantastic book. But I'm very glad I read it. I do think it was very, very interesting. I think like I said, I think it was a lot more similar to Fahrenheit 451 than 1984, and I do love Fahrenheit 451 for all it has to say about thinking and reasoning and stuff like that. And this one kind of had the same thing, where it's like not only is it more, it's not, socially in vogue to be thinking about things, but people just can't comprehend why anybody would want to. It's super interesting. Really enjoyed it. 5 out of 5 stars. Look forward to rereading it at some point. Then, I promise you we do get to another larger book at some point. I read Getting Even by Christopher Pike. This is a cheerleader's book. This is number 2. I'm not reading these in order. But this one follows these cheerleaders, and they make the squad, and there's romance, and there's a jealous rival. I don't really know what to say about this, except for it wasn't as bad as the last one I read from this series. Possibly because it was written by Christopher Pike, who is a an 80s, 90s teen horror writer. He wrote a lot of really pulpy, fun little teen horror books like Chain Letter, Whisper of Death, Monster was the most recent one I read by him. I really, really enjoy his horror work. But the one downside with this being written by him, and very obviously written by him, like it was definitely his style, is that I kept expecting somebody to die, and nobody did. But I did give this one like 2 or 3 stars. I don't remember, but I read it. Then I read a manga that is Danganronpa, A School of Hope and the Students of Despair, the Animation Volume 1. Created by Spike Chunsoft, manga by Takashi Sumiki, not Sumiki. We're doing great. This is so it was a game, it was an anime, and now it is apparently a manga. This Danganronpa was very popular on Tumblr with those of us who were Homestuck fans and were waiting for the webcomic to end. And so when Danganronpa came out, there were these fan translations that popped up so you could read the game before it came out in English. And so I read the game. Then I watched the anime, then I played the game when it came out in English. I bought a Vita, I bought the game, and now I'm reading this anime. And I do think that I'm not sure if this story really translates well to manga, So what this is like a battle royale situation where these bunch of kids are in this school, they're locked in there, and they have to kill each other. And so what they have to do is they have to kill each other, or they have to kill somebody, and then you can't get caught, because once somebody's dead, then the class trial happens, and then everybody's running around looking for clues, and the class trial happens, and if you get caught, you get executed. And so I don't know if this book, I just think the fact that it is in manga form, and the fact that there aren't very many volumes of this one. I think there are 2 or 3 for each game. It really speeds it along way too fast. Like in this one, we get our first death, and we go through the trial in like 3 pages, which is like the trial is the main gameplay part, and so I don't know. But the style is very similar to the anime. Very fun. I really love these characters, and I love this story, so I'm just a sucker for battle royale type stories, so I will probably keep on going. I do own book 2 as well. I'll probably keep on They've made manga for like the second game and for the third game, for just everything, so I will probably continue to pick this up. Not this summer, because I'm not buying books this summer, but in the future, so I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Goosebumps Horrorland Welcome to Camp Slither by R.L. Stine. This is the one Goosebumps series that you have to read in order, and I didn't know that. It's not with the first part, because the way this series works is that there's the first part, which is like kind of your main story, and that one was Welcome to Camp Slither, and that was very typical Goosebumps camp story. It was this kid, he goes to a camp, there's mysterious stuff going on, this time it's about snakes, all sorts of stuff. Once that is over, you get a Horrorland section where the characters of the book end up going to Horrorland, and they meet up with all the other characters in all the previous books. This is book 9 in the Horrorland series, so I was a little bit lost there. There were some characters that I did recognize from the original Goosebumps series, like Carly Beth and the Deep siblings, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I did enjoy this one though. My biggest love is for the original Goosebumps books, and also the Ghosts of Fear Street series, both of which I did read when I was young. But this is a fun one too. I did very much enjoy it. I thought it was a fun time. I can give it 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely good if you've got a youngin' in your life who wants to get into horror, because I remember Goosebumps Monster Blood was my very first horror novel that I ever read. I was like 6 years old. It was fantastic. Anyway, the last book that I read this week was a fantasy novel. I fucking loved it. It is one that makes me be like, oh shit, maybe I do like fantasy, because I always say I don't like fantasy, and then I'll read fantasy novels and I'm like, this is the best book I've read this week. So maybe I do like fantasy. I don't know. But it was The Smoke Thieves by Sally Green. Sally Green is, if you recognize her name, she wrote the Half Bad series. I have them over here somewhere. Grant. Book 1 is right here. The other ones aren't shelved yet. When we move, I will have another bookshelf, so that'll be fun. But The Smoke Thieves, it starts off very slow, I will say. But what this is about, it's got 5 point of view characters, and it follows these 3 kingdoms, and one of them, Britannia, that is actually French for Brittany. That is actually one of the French That is actually one of the French provinces. It's not Britannia. Brigant. That's it. That's what it is. Not Brittany. Brigant, Calidor, and Pretoria are the three main ones. And so we follow 5 different protagonists. We've got Catherine, who's a princess of Brigant, who is going to be marrying the prince of Pretoria. We've got Ambrose, her very fucking boring love of her life and guardsman. We've got Tash, who is a 12-year-old girl who is hunting demons, because there are demons in there. That's a whole kind of subplot. Hunting demons with a large, hairy man. We've got March, who is a servant in Calidor, who is used to be part of this kind of almost native-esque group of people who were all wiped out in a former war. And my boy Edion, who I just pronounce Frenchy just because French is the only other language other than English that I know at all. And so if I can't find a way to pronounce a word in English that makes it sound good, I pronounce it Frenchy. So Edion is, he is a thief who lives in Pretoria. His mom is like a furniture saleswoman, and he's a bastard, but he tries to he tries to be a lawyer. He's like, I'll study up for law, but he can't because he's like 17 also, but he can't because he doesn't have a father to present him. And so he's also a thief, like not for money, but just for fun. And Edion is the love of my life. He's so much fun. I love him so much. But basically as the story goes forward, they all kind of merge together. One of them ends up being a prince. One of them ends up sparking kind of a sort of like revolt against what she originally was raised to believe in. It's a fun time. I know a lot of people have problems with Sally Green, most particularly due to the Half-Bad trilogy ending with some kill your gays, bury your gays trope-ism. I really enjoy her writing. I really enjoy her characters, and I really, really enjoyed this. I mean, like I said, it started off really slow, but once I got into it, I was just like fucking zooming through, man. Like, I read the last 400 pages in like 2 days. Like, it was phenomenal. Like, I told myself I'm not buying any more books this summer. Like, I'm not buying them. It makes me really sad because I want books 2 and 3. Like, I loved it so much. Like, this is one that I was prepared to read it, be all right with it, and then immediately just donate it to my school. But no, I'm keeping hold of it because I loved it. I loved it that much. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Favorite book of the week right there. Actually, maybe either this or Brave New World. I don't know. Currently, I'm still reading Mordred's Call of Darkness. I think I'm 86% now. But also, I'm very happy because the book stacks gave me Gone by Michael Grant to reread. This is a non-hideous cover. I do have the hideous covers. I have all of them in hideous covers. What I mean by hideous covers are these ones. But this one I did pick up at a thrift store because I had to rescue it and give it one more read. And I love the Gone series. The Gone series is one of my favorites. And so I'm happy to be rereading it. I'm like 100 pages in. Love it so much. So these are the books that I read this past week. That is all for today. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.